Isn't music great? I'm Conor Parrish, and for my senior project, I decided to make an electric guitar. I chose to make an electric guitar because I have been interested in music and enthralled by it for many years, ever since I was given my first wooden flute in first grade. Continued on to the cello in third grade and picked up the guitar about 7 years ago. And the guitar's been my favorite instrument ever since I first played it. My musical taste is inspired by a lot of alternative rock artists, and I wanted this guitar to reflect the style of those artists. I chose to make a smaller electric guitar, and I wanted it to be unique, something that had never been done before. So I'm going to give you a quick outline of how electric guitars work. So a string is plucked, and depending on how thick and how tightly strung the string is, it vibrates at a certain frequency. Beneath the strings, there are pickups, which literally pick up the electronic frequency and turn it into an electronic signal. This signal can be manipulated inside the guitar using the volume knob, tone knob, the pickup selector switch if you have more than one pickup, and I also added a kill switch on this guitar, which I'll tell you about later. The guitar then sends the signal to the amplifier, which plays the noise. To begin my project, the first step was researching electric guitars. This consisted of many hours of surfing the web and teaching myself how electric guitars work, the different kinds of electric guitars, and so forth. I decided what I wanted my guitar to be like, and I wanted it to be small, compact, unique. I wanted it to have 2 humbucker pickups. A humbucker pickup is called a humbucker because it gets rid of the hum that is common in regular pickups, single coil pickups. And I also wanted the neck to have 24 frets, which is more than the usual 21 or 22, which means you can play 2 octaves on each string. So I made a sketch of how I wanted the guitar to look. As you can see, the top one was final, and the bottom one was a step on the way to getting there. It got a little more normal in the process. I enlarged the sketch to full size, and this became the blueprint for the rest of the project. Meanwhile, I was finding a mentor. Last year at the Winter Fair, I saw Alan Cole at his booth where he was displaying harpsichords that he had built. And I knew that if I was going to build an electric guitar, he would be a good option. There was also another option at the Parlando Music School in Boulder, which didn't pan out, so I went with Alan, and I'm glad I did. He has a great shop with great tools and knowledge. The next step was ordering parts and materials. I chose mahogany for the body, which is a typical guitar wood, nice and light, good sound. And rather than building my own neck, which is a different skill set from what I was pursuing with woodworking, I ordered one from a private luthier. A luthier is someone who builds a musical instrument out of wood in China. I also got parts, electronic parts, hardware from Stuart McDonald, which is an online resource for all sorts of instrument making. So, after getting the chunk of wood, I began the process of woodworking. The first step was routing the cavities. I used Alan's handheld plunge router to hollow out these cavities, which would hold the pickups and the electronics. This was a really fun part of the process because it made the wood seem like butter. It just took it out really fast. The next step was cutting out the shape. For this, I used the blueprint, the large sketch of the guitar that I had, and I used a bandsaw, which is essentially a table with a circular saw blade that whizzes down through a hole, move the piece of wood around on the table, cuts out the outline of the guitar. This was really satisfying because it suddenly looked like a guitar after 10 minutes of work. The next step, and probably the hardest, was routing the neck pocket. I used the hand router again, and this neck pocket had to be really precise to fit the neck perfectly. It couldn't be too wide or the neck would wobble around in there, or it couldn't be too tight or else the neck wouldn't fit. The bottom of it had to be at the perfect angle, otherwise the neck would point off in the wrong direction. So this was a tedious process, but got it done. Next, I made a pick guard out of black plastic that I ordered from Stuart McDonald. I liked the way I also used the bandsaw for this, and if you noticed earlier, the guitar has more of a rounded shape. I liked the way the straight edges of the pick guard contrast with the rounded shape of the guitar. After sanding the guitar, it was time to stain it. I was originally going for a dark red color for the body, and after looking around, I found a cherry-colored stain at Gyrie's Art Supplies down on Pearl Street. I gave it 3 coats until I was satisfied with the color of the body. Next was finishing it. I wanted the guitar to be shiny, nice and glossy, and so I got a water-based polyurethane finish, also from Gyrie's, and I put 5 coats on the guitar, and this gave it the desired look. Next, I finished the neck, which took 2 coats to get the desired look, because if there's too much finish on the neck, it gets sticky and it's hard to move your hand up and down. Next was installing the neck. This was probably the most satisfying part of the process, because suddenly it looked like an actual guitar. It almost looked ready to string it up and play it. Also, before I could string it up, I had to install the hardware. The hardware included the tuning knobs, the strap buttons, as you can see here, and the bridge, and various other small parts. The last step before finishing the electric guitar was soldering the electronics. Akita Youngblood is a genius with electronics, and he helped me immensely with this part, and we had fun figuring out what needs to go where. Figuring out the switch I had for selecting the pickups was really weird. Neither of us had seen anything like it before, but we eventually figured out how it worked, got everything soldered together, and put it in the guitar. So now I'm going to unveil the guitar. So as you can see, it has the body shape that I originally designed, the neck, tuning knobs, everything, pick guard, all the electronics are underneath here. And I'm gonna play you a song. You'll probably all recognize this. It is "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd. So this was a really great experience for me. I learned so much about guitars, how they work, different things you can put in them, make them different, everything. It taught me to overcome challenges. I'll give you one example now. This is a story. When I ordered the neck from China, I was in the process of moving to Boulder, and So the neck was on its way. I was tracking it online with the Postal Service, watched it go from China to Alaska, down through the US, 10 minutes from my house. I thought, yes, I'll get it today, tomorrow, soon. I waited a day, I waited a week, and I checked in with the Postal Service, and they told me it was undeliverable and it had been shipped back to China. So eventually I got in touch with the guy I ordered it from, and he accepted it as a return and sent me a new one. But this seriously delayed my project, but huge disaster averted. Eventually got the neck, put it on the guitar, and everything was okay. The most amazing part of this project, the best part, was the amazing feeling when I first turned on the guitar. Played a note, and it was just great. Seeing the result of all this work, over 100 hours of woodworking, etc. Great, great feeling. I'd like to thank my mentor, Alan Cole. If you're here, would you please stand up? And at this point, I will take questions. Yes. The question was, if I continue to play music, will I play that guitar? And the answer is definitely. It definitely could use some tweaking. The intonation is off right now, and I could adjust various things, such as being an engineer, I suppose. But yeah, definitely. Other questions? Mark Feigl. The question was, did I notice anything about the lack of humidity in Colorado, what with the work I was doing, the woodworking? The answer is no. Since I've never worked in a humid environment, I didn't really have anything to compare it to, but yeah, it went as I imagined it would. Yeah. The question was, does the shape of the body affect the sound in an electric guitar? The answer is yes, but not that I notice. You'll notice there's crazy guitar shapes you've seen, like flying V-shaped guitars and lightning bolts, and they all sound fine, so you can make various different shapes. Kim. The question was, how did I decide what type of string that I wanted to use? There's not a huge range of huge variety of strings for steel string electric guitars. The most variety you can look for is different thicknesses, and I went for a slightly thinner string in this case for no particular reason. I just like that better. Yes. If I were to do it again, would I do anything differently? Yes, I would make sure I had the neck before I started everything else. Yeah, there was some difficulty also fitting the neck, and I would plan it better also, because the original neck pocket wasn't at the exact right angle, so I had to put a shim in there, which it works perfectly now, so, but I would plan it better next time. Yes, Bridget. My plans for next year, go into college. I have a list of about 8 schools, including CU.